Let me tell you something. There are wounds you can't see. Not on your skin, but deep in your soul. And betrayal, that's one of the deepest cuts you'll ever feel. Because it never comes from enemies. It comes from the people you once protected, trusted, even loved. You gave your heart to them. You stood by them in storms they created. You defended them in rooms they were bad-mouthing you in. You prayed for them when they were plotting against you. And in return, they handed you silence when you needed a voice, absence when you needed presence, and lies when you deserved truth. Betrayal shakes the core of your spirit. It leaves you sitting in a dark room, wondering if love, loyalty, or trust even mean anything anymore. But listen to me. You are not what they did to you. You are the strength that rises after. You are the silence that walks away instead of screams. You are the dignity that refuses to beg for love that should have been yours in the first place. This is not the end. It's the moment you decide your worth is louder than their betrayal. Now stand tall, because today you walk away with power, not pain. There comes a point when you realize that not every battle deserves your energy, not every insult deserves a reply, not every betrayal deserves an audience. That moment right there is when silence becomes your weapon. Because silence is not weakness, it's not surrender. Silence is a decision. It's saying, I see what you did, I know who you are, but I will not stoop to your level. See, people who betray you expect chaos. They want noise. They want you to lash out so they can play the victim. They want you to go low so they can pretend they're justified. But when you give them silence instead of rage, when you walk away without a single word, you shatter their expectations. You take back your power. And more importantly, you keep your peace. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. You don't need to defend yourself to liars. You don't need to explain yourself to people who already chose to misunderstand you. When someone betrays you, they've already made their choice. They've already revealed the truth you didn't want to see. So why argue with someone who showed you who they are? That's the trick of betrayal. It's not just the act, it's the aftermath that tries to consume you. You go over the conversation in your head, thinking of what you should have said. You plan confrontations in the shower, imagining the perfect words to destroy their lies. But here's the truth. No amount of right words will ever reach someone committed to misunderstanding you. That's why silence is powerful. It tells the world, I'm not interested in proving anything anymore. My peace is more valuable than their version of the story. Sometimes the loudest statement you can make is no statement at all. Silence doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've chosen discipline over impulse. Anyone can scream. Anyone can curse. But it takes a certain level of emotional maturity to say nothing and let life reveal the truth in time, because it always does. Karma has a strange way of speaking, and it never rushes. But when it speaks loud and clear. Your silence isn't about giving up. It's about giving it to God. It's saying, I trust that I don't need to expose anybody. I trust that the truth will rise without me losing my character. And that's where the strength is. When you can walk away knowing you had every reason to fight back, but you chose peace instead. That's the real flex. We live in a world that tells you to clap back, to always respond, to always have the last word. But the truth is, when you live like that, you end up exhausted. You give parts of yourself away to people who never deserved your energy in the first place. Every time you respond to betrayal with rage, you're keeping the pain alive. You're feeding a fire that was never yours to carry. Silence, on the other hand, is a boundary. It's the line in the sand that says, you don't get access to me anymore. You don't owe anybody a reaction just because they expect one. You don't have to perform your pain for anyone. Your silence is sacred. It's a sanctuary. And when you master it, you realize you don't need to scream to be heard. You just need to keep walking in truth. You see, people fear silence because it exposes their own noise. When you stay silent, it forces them to sit with what they did. It takes away their excuse to twist your words. It denies them the drama they crave. Betrayers feed off attention. They thrive off conflict. But when you go quiet, when you say nothing and just move forward, you starve them. You take back control. They may lie, They may spin stories, but deep down they know. They know they lost someone who was real. They know they pushed away someone who only wanted loyalty. And the silence you gave them will echo louder than any speech, because silence makes people reflect, and that reflection can be haunting. Don't underestimate what your silence can do. It speaks louder than rage ever will. There will be people who say you should speak up, you should fight back, but let me tell you, speaking truth isn't always about words. Sometimes the way you live becomes the response. Let your peace be the proof. Let your growth be the revenge. Let your silence be the sign that you've elevated beyond the nonsense. Because when you start choosing yourself, when you start saying, I don't need this energy in my life, everything begins to shift. You realize that not everything requires closure. Not every door needs to be slammed. Some just need to be quietly locked, and that's okay. Your dignity isn't in how loud you are. It's in how deeply you know who you are. When you know your worth, silence becomes easier. You no longer need to chase validation. You no longer feel the need to clear your name in every room. There is a certain power that comes when you learn to sit in silence and let your healing do the talking. Healing isn't loud. It's not fireworks and applause. It's quiet mornings when you choose peace instead of bitterness. It's long nights where you cry, but you don't pick up the phone to call the one who hurt you. It's those deep breaths when the urge to react rises and you just let it pass. That's the real battle. And every time you choose silence in the face of chaos, you win. Every time you keep your dignity instead of your pride, you grow. The world will never understand the battles you fought in silence, but those are the battles that shaped you. Those are the moments that turn pain into wisdom. And wisdom never shouts. It whispers, gently guiding you toward who you were always meant to be. So if you've been betrayed, hurt, lied to, and left in silence, don't think that silence is weakness. No. It is the greatest form of restraint. It's the choice to walk away with grace instead of vengeance. It's the deep understanding that your energy is divine and you will not waste it trying to prove a point to people who never deserved a seat at your table. Let them wonder. Let them replay the silence in their mind over and over again, because silence lingers. Silence stays. Long after the noise fades, your silence will still be felt. So walk away, warrior. Walk away not because you couldn't fight, but because you chose a higher battlefield, one where peace is the victory. And every time you choose not to respond, not to react, not to return evil for evil, you're not losing. You're winning, quietly, powerfully, with dignity. Let me tell you something real. If someone can walk away from you after you gave them your time, your love, your trust, let them go, let them lose you. You are not meant to beg someone to see your value. You are not meant to convince someone to treat you right. If they were too blind to recognize what they had while you were there, then you walking away is not a loss for you, it's a lesson for them. You weren't asking for too much, you were just asking the wrong person. So don't chase them. Don't call. Don't explain. Let the silence fall heavy. Let them feel what life is like without your energy, without your support, without your loyalty. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is disappear from the life of someone who took you for granted, not with hate, just with finality. They thought you'd always be there. They assumed your loyalty was endless, your love unconditional, your patience eternal. But they forgot something. You're human. You're not made of stone. You break, you bend, and eventually you get tired. And when you finally walk away, when you stop texting first, stop checking in, stop forgiving without change, it hits them. Suddenly the silence is loud. The absence is undeniable. That's the power of letting them lose you. Not to hurt them, not to prove a point, but to finally choose yourself. Because the longer you stay in places where you're not seen, the more you start to forget your own worth. The more you shrink to fit into their small definition of love. And that ain't living, that's surviving. You weren't created to survive their neglect. You were created to thrive in love. That doesn't make you question your own value. You see, people don't appreciate consistency until it's gone. They take kindness as weakness. They treat your forgiveness like a reset button. They think because you stayed through the storms, you'll keep staying through the destruction. But one day, enough becomes enough. One day, you wake up and you feel different. You don't cry anymore. You don't explain. You don't argue. You just leave. That's the moment of power. Not when they beg you to stay, but when their apology no longer matters. Let them lose you. Let them feel what they threw away. You don't need closure from someone who never gave you clarity. You don't need explanations from someone who only gave you confusion. Peace doesn't come from people who betray you. Peace comes when you decide that losing you is the consequence of how they treated you. That's not revenge. That's self-respect. And it's time you gave yourself that. There are people who will swear they loved you, yet they treated you like an option. They will tell others how good you were after they destroyed every part of your spirit. Don't let the nostalgia fool you. Don't let the good times trick you into staying in a cycle that's been breaking you down. Remember this: the version of them that betrayed you, that ignored you, that disrespected you, not the one who was sweet on Sundays or called you family when it was convenient. So when you walk away, don't look back hoping for a better version. Don't wait for them to change. If they couldn't do right when they had you, let them lose you. And walk with your head high. You didn't fail. You just outgrew the lies. You matured past the manipulation, and they can talk all they want, but they know you were real. Sometimes the best closure is no closure. Sometimes you don't need to say goodbye. You just need to stop showing up. Stop texting good morning. Stop asking how they're doing. Stop holding space for people who never held space for you. You gave them enough chances. You explained yourself 1,000 times. Now it's time to let your absence speak. Let them wonder why you stopped caring. Let them feel the weight of your silence. Because here's the truth. They didn't think you'd ever walk away. They thought you'd always come back. And now the moment you let them lose you, they're forced to confront their own reflection. They're forced to sit with what they did. That's not being cold at dawn. That's choosing healing over chaos. That's understanding that your soul deserves peace more than it deserves a place in their inconsistent world. You have to love yourself enough to leave the table when respect is no longer being served. You can't keep trying to heal in the same place that broke you. You can't find peace in the presence of those who thrive off your confusion. So let them lose you. Let them sit with the silence they created. Because the truth is, they never thought you had it in you. They underestimated your strength. They believed your compassion made you weak. But what they didn't know was that your silence would be louder than any goodbye. That your departure would leave a scar they couldn't erase. You're not being heartless. You're being honest. Honest about your limits. Honest about your worth. And the moment you stop apologizing for choosing yourself, you finally start to heal. That's not being selfish. That's survival. And it's long overdue. The most powerful version of you is the one who realizes you don't need anyone who doesn't fight to keep you. Loyalty shouldn't feel like begging. Love shouldn't feel like waiting. If they truly cared, they wouldn't have made you question it. They wouldn't have let you suffer in silence while they enjoyed your presence. So if you're waiting for a sign to walk away from someone who keeps hurting you, this is it. Let them lose you. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. You deserve to be loved without confusion, to be respected without conditions. And if they can't offer that, then let them experience the void you leave behind. Let them feel the emptiness where your loyalty used to live. Let them miss the version of you they will never get again. That's your power. That's your comeback. And it's beautiful. So many people are afraid to walk away because they fear being alone. But being alone is not the worst thing. Being surrounded by people who make you feel alone is. When you let them lose you, you create space for healing, for growth, for peace. You create space for real love to find you. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop surviving and start living. The old you would have stayed. The old you would have cried, explained, begged, but not anymore. Now, you walk with quiet strength. You love with wisdom. You forgive, but you don't return. Let them lose you. And watch what happens when you pour all that love you gave them back into yourself. That's not heartbreak. That's transformation. That's the beginning of a new chapter. One where you are no longer begging to be chosen because you've finally chosen yourself. You don't have to clap back to prove your strength. You don't need to retaliate to show you were right. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay silent and move forward with your dignity intact, because dignity speaks volumes without saying a word. Let the ones who hurt you talk. Let them spin their stories, twist the truth, paint themselves as victims. Let them. You don't need to dirty your hands defending your name to people who are never interested in knowing your heart in the first place. You know who you are. You know what you gave. And if someone chooses to dishonor that, then they've already told the world more about themselves than they ever could about you. Keep your peace. Keep your silence. Dignity walks tall while revenge crawls in the mud. And trust me, in the end, your silence will echo louder than their lies ever could. They wanted a reaction. They wanted to see you fall apart. Scream, lash out, throw shade, go low. Because that would have justified what they did to you. That would have made you look like the villain in their twisted version of the story. But when you chose grace instead of revenge, when you didn't retaliate, but instead elevated, you took away their power. That's what they fear most. Not your rage, but your restraint. Not your pain, but your poise, because now they can't blame you. Now they have to live with the truth that they were the ones who messed up, and you still chose the high road. That kind of strength shakes them. That kind of quiet breaks them. You don't need to drag anyone through the mud to prove a point. Let them talk, let them project. You rise, you rebuild, and you let your peace speak for you in ways revenge never could. You see, revenge is loud and temporary. It might feel good in the moment, but it eats away at your spirit in the long run. Dignity, though, that's eternal. That's peace you carry with you every day. Revenge ties you to the pain. It keeps you connected to people who don't deserve another second of your energy. But dignity is freedom. It's saying, you may have hurt me, but you will not have the privilege of watching me unravel because of you. It's reclaiming your story without needing to tear theirs down. And don't think the universe isn't watching. Don't think life doesn't keep score. The same way they thought they got away with what they did, life has a way of bringing things full circle. But by then you'll be so far ahead, so healed, so focused, you won't even flinch when you hear their name. Because dignity always wins in the end. When you act with dignity, you don't lower your standards just because someone else couldn't meet them. You don't match disrespect with disrespect. You let people be who they are, and you let your absence speak for the love they mishandled. You're not pretending you weren't hurt. No, your silence doesn't mean it didn't break you, but it means you refused to break your own character in the process. It means you chose not to become what hurt you. That's strength. That's growth. Anyone can throw stones. Anyone can clap back. But it takes a real one to hold their ground, stay true to their values, and let time reveal the truth. That's what dignity does. It doesn't chase closure, it becomes the closure. It doesn't seek revenge, it lets karma take care of what it can. And while they're stuck in circles of drama, you're walking in straight lines of peace. Let them talk about you. Let them twist your silence into guilt. People love to villainize the ones who walked away with grace because it makes them feel less responsible for the damage they caused. But don't lose sleep over their lies. Don't waste your breath trying to correct their narrative. The people who truly know you, they'll feel the truth. And the people who believe lies without asking your side, let them go too. Because one of the deepest forms of dignity is learning that not everyone deserves access to your energy, your voice, or your story. You were never meant to prove your goodness to people committed to misunderstanding you. So instead of revenge, build. Instead of responding, grow. Instead of explaining, evolve. The best kind of revenge is a life so whole, so full of peace, that they no longer recognize the version of you they thought they broke. We live in a world that glorifies clapbacks and comebacks, where people think silence is weakness and revenge is justice. But you got to understand something. Real power is stillness. Real strength is restraint. It takes no strength to react. It takes everything to rise above. Dignity is when you walk away without needing the last word, because you trust that the truth in time doesn't need defending. You don't need to curse them out, drag their name, expose their flaws. You just need to keep shining, keep healing, keep thriving. That's the kind of revenge that hits different. The one that's wrapped in peace. You don't want the kind of justice that costs you your own growth. You don't want to become so obsessed with proving a point that you lose your direction. Your life is your statement. Your success is your closure. Your calm is your crown. Wear it like it was made for you. The day you realize you don't need to fight every battle is the day you start winning the war within. You don't need to correct every false version of your story. You don't need to scream to be heard by those who chose to be deaf when you were speaking love. You just need to stay silent, stay focused, stay true. Let the dust settle. Let time do the talking. Dignity teaches you that walking away is not weakness. It's knowing your worth so well that you won't trade your peace for petty validation. The people who matter will see you. The ones who don't were never meant to. So no matter how bad it hurt, no matter how bad they betrayed you, don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you break your character. Hold your head up. Keep your soul intact. Because dignity doesn't need applause. It is the reward. And when the day comes that they realize what they lost, when the truth starts to echo in their own silence, when they see you rising while they're still stuck in the same cycles, they'll remember how you didn't fight back, how you didn't stoop low, how you simply walked away. And it'll haunt them, not because you wanted it to, but because that's what dignity does. It doesn't seek to destroy. It simply stands tall and lets truth do its job. So hold your ground, heal in peace, walk in silence, and let your life speak for you louder than your voice ever could. That's the kind of power no one can take. That's the kind of revenge only the strong carry. Dignity doesn't shout, it echoes. And when you carry yourself with honor, no matter how dirty they played you, the universe steps in and says, this one's mine. And that, my friend, is everything. You have to understand, peace is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. In a world that's constantly pulling at you, draining you, poking at your wounds just to see you react, your peace is your protection. It's your sanctuary. It's the place you go to when nothing else makes sense. That's why you have to protect it like it's gold, because it is. Not everyone deserves access to your energy, to your spirit, to the sacred space you've created within yourself. Some people come around with chaos in their pockets, drama on their tongues, and manipulation in their eyes. You have to be wise enough to recognize that early. You don't owe everyone a seat at your table just because they knocked on your door. Be selective, be intentional, because every time you say yes to chaos, you say no to peace. And that's a price you can't afford to keep paying. Sometimes protecting your peace means saying no without an explanation. Not because you're rude, but because your spirit matters. Your boundaries matter. And if someone takes offense to you choosing your well-being, they were never for you to begin with. You've spent too many nights losing sleep over people who wouldn't even blink if you fell apart. That's not peace. That's people pleasing, and it's time to let that go. You were not put here to save everyone, to fix everyone, to carry everyone. You were put here to live in alignment, to honor your purpose, to protect the light that burns within you. And sometimes that means walking away from familiar faces with unfamiliar intentions. Protecting your peace is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's not selfish. It's self-respect. It's realizing that your inner world must be guarded like treasure, because the wrong person can walk in and break everything you've spent years trying to build. You don't need chaos to feel alive. You don't need to argue just to feel heard. Real peace doesn't shout. It doesn't fight to be felt. It sits quietly in your chest and reminds you that you don't have to attend every battle you're invited to. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every jab needs a comeback. That's what protecting your peace looks like. It's choosing your growth over your ego. It's knowing you could clap back, but choosing silence instead, because nothing disrupts the spirit more than unnecessary confrontation. You don't owe closure to someone who slammed the door on your dignity. You don't owe explanations to those who made assumptions instead of asking you. The more you learn to protect your peace, the more you learn that silence is strength and distance is wisdom. Protecting your peace means mastering the art of not taking things personally and trusting that what's meant for you will never require you to fight your way into it. There are going to be people who get mad when you stop playing small. They'll get uncomfortable when you stop engaging in gossip, when you stop showing up to every drama-filled conversation, when you pull back your energy. Let them. That discomfort they feel is their own lack of peace screaming at them. But don't let that guilt you into returning to places that hurt your soul. You are not responsible for other people's inability to handle your boundaries. Protecting your peace means walking away from what doesn't align, even if it once felt like home. It means choosing silence over chaos, solitude over noise, clarity over confusion. You can love people and still choose to love them from a distance. You can care deeply and still walk away quietly. That's what protecting your peace is. It's learning that detachment isn't cold. It's necessary, because nothing grows in a storm, and you deserve a life that allows you to bloom. Your peace is your power, and power doesn't beg to be understood. You don't need everyone to get it. You don't need approval to protect what's sacred to you. The moment you stop chasing validation, you'll start attracting alignment. You'll find yourself surrounded by people who respect your boundaries instead of testing them, people who bring calm instead of confusion. That's the fruit of guarding your peace. You stop surviving and start living. You don't wake up dreading the day because you've cut the ties that once drained you. You don't feel heavy walking into rooms because you've let go of the pressure to be everything for everyone. Peace teaches you that being misunderstood is a small price to pay for inner freedom. So let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. While they run in circles, you walk in purpose. While they chase drama, you chase destiny. Because at the end of the day, peace always pays better than attention. People will test you. They'll push you. They'll try to disrupt you just to see if they still have access to your emotions. And when you don't react, when you respond with silence, with grace, with unshakable calm, they'll call you cold. Let them. Protecting your peace means not folding just because someone else wants to create noise. It means understanding that not every fire needs your fuel. Some things are best left to burn out on their own. You can't control how people treat you, but you can control how you show up. You can choose to be unbothered. That's not indifference, it's discipline, it's strength. Because peace doesn't mean life is perfect. It means you've learned to keep your soul steady even when everything around you is shaking. And once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never chase chaos again. You'll guard it. You'll value it. And you'll never hand it away to anyone who hasn't earned it. There's something sacred about protecting your peace that can't be explained. It can only be felt. It's waking up in the morning and not feeling the weight of yesterday's drama. It's going to bed knowing you didn't let anything or anyone pull you out of your character. That feeling, that's gold. And you only get there when you decide that your energy is too expensive for nonsense, too sacred for drama, too purposeful for distractions. You've come too far, grown too much, healed too deeply to let anyone drag you back into the mess you've already climbed out of. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you're untouchable. It means you become intentional. You've learned that chaos can't coexist with growth, and you're choosing growth every single time. So when people say you've changed, tell them yes, because you finally value your peace. And anything that costs you that, it's too damn expensive. The more you protect your peace, the more you become unstoppable. Not because life stops throwing punches, but because you stop letting them control your spirit. You start moving with purpose, not pressure. You respond with wisdom, not wounds. You learn that peace isn't about hiding from life. It's about facing it without losing yourself in the noise. That's real power. That's what makes you untouchable. When the world gets loud, you stay rooted. When people get messy, you stay clean. When the past tries to pull you back, you keep walking because you finally understand that your peace is gold. Not everyone deserves access to it. Not everyone can afford the cost. And that's okay. You didn't come this far to be shaken by shadows. You came to shine. You came to rise. And nothing protects that rise more than guarding your peace like your future depends on it. Because it does. Pain is a teacher you never invited, but one that shows up when you need to grow the most. It doesn't knock on the door gently. It breaks it down, walks in, and changes everything. And in that moment, all you feel is the hurt, the betrayal, the loss, the emptiness. But let me tell you something powerful. That pain isn't there to destroy you. It's there to transform you. It's there to show you what matters. To wake you up to what you've tolerated too long, to push you to a place you never would have gone if everything had stayed easy. It's not the pain that shapes you, it's what you choose to do with it. You can either let it bury you or you can let it build you. You can either let it break you down or you can turn it into a fire that fuels something greater than your suffering. That's purpose. There comes a moment when you realize the pain you went through wasn't random. It didn't show up just to make you suffer. It came to refine you. You start to see that your scars are not signs of weakness, but reminders that you survived something meant to end you. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every setback, none of it was wasted. It was shaping your mission, carving out your strength, teaching you how to fight for yourself. See, purpose doesn't come from the easy moments. Purpose is born in the valley, not on the mountaintop. It's born when you have to crawl through the storm, wipe your own tears, and whisper to yourself, I will not quit. And one day someone will sit across from you and say, how did you get through it? And you'll be able to look them in the eye, not with pity, but with power, and say, I turned the pain into purpose. Pain has a way of revealing your power. When life strips away what you thought you needed, it reveals what's been inside you all along. Resilience, grit, wisdom. You don't need a perfect life to have purpose. You just need to stop running from the pain and start listening to what it's trying to teach you. You'll find that the things that once made you cry will one day become the very stories that make others believe they can heal too. Purpose doesn't mean the pain goes away. It means the pain now has a place to go. It becomes a message, a calling, a mission. And if you're willing to look deeper, to rise above the victim mindset, you'll realize you've been equipped with everything you need to use your hurt to heal others. You'll stop asking why me and start asking what now? That's the shift. That's when the wound becomes wisdom. That's when purpose takes root. The road to purpose isn't easy. It requires you to confront your pain, not suppress it. It requires you to sit in the fire and let it burn off everything that isn't meant for your future. And that's uncomfortable. That's raw. But that's where the beauty begins. Pain clears out the noise so you can finally hear your truth. It silences distractions so your purpose can speak louder. Sometimes it takes the darkest nights to wake you up to the light within you. And once you feel that shift, once you realize your pain has meaning, you can no longer stay where you used to be. You can't keep living numb, pretending you're okay, hiding behind a smile. No. Your purpose is calling you to rise. It's calling you to transform, to lead, to live fully and fearlessly. Pain is the passage, not the destination. You're not meant to stay broken. You're meant to build from the breaking. You're not the only one who's ever been hurt, but you have the power to decide what that hurt becomes. Will it become bitterness or will it become brilliance? Will it trap you in cycles or will it launch you into freedom? You get to decide. And that's what makes pain powerful. It gives you a choice. You can become a prisoner to it or you can become a prophet through it. You can either repeat the pain or you can redeem it, turn it into art, turn it into action, turn it into a voice for the voiceless. Because purpose isn't always some grand, perfect plan. It's choosing to make your struggle count for something. It's waking up and saying, if I had to go through this, then it's not going to be for nothing. Let your pain be the seed and your purpose be the bloom. Because when you rise from what tried to ruin you, you inspire others to rise too. There's someone out there who needs your story, not your perfection. They need to see that broken doesn't mean defeated. They need to see that scars don't mean shame. They need to see that pain doesn't cancel purpose, it reveals it. Your story might be the roadmap someone else needs to find their way out, but you can't help them if you're still pretending you don't hurt. Real purpose is honest. It doesn't hide the pain. It harnesses it. It says, yes, I went through hell, but I made it out. And if I made it, so can you. It's purpose. It's healing. It's strength. And if your pain can become someone else's hope, then it wasn't in vain. You don't have to be fully healed to be helpful. You just have to be willing to be real, to show up with your truth and let the broken parts of your story become the most beautiful part of your legacy. You were never meant to stay in the pain. You were meant to rise from it, to carry it, not as a burden, but as a badge, to walk into rooms with quiet power and let your presence speak louder than your past. That's purpose. It's not about forgetting the pain. It's about refusing to let it define you. It's about looking back at what hurt you and saying, you didn't win because you're still here, still breathing, still becoming. And every tear, every loss, every wound, it all brought you here to this moment, to this strength, to this wisdom. You are not what happened to you. You are what you chose to become after it. And if you can choose to rise again, even with shaking hands and a bruised heart, then you are already living in purpose. And no one, not the pain, not the past, not the people, can take that away from you. So when life breaks you open, when you feel like you've lost everything, remember, that's not the end. It's the beginning of your purpose unfolding. It's your soul waking up. It's your destiny being stirred. The pain you feel now is real, but so is the power that will come from it. You're not being punished. you're being prepared. You're being refined. Because what's inside of you is greater than what hurt you. And one day you'll look back and thank the pain, not because you loved it, but because it forced you to become someone you never imagined you could be. Someone wiser, someone stronger, someone with purpose etched into their every step. So don't run from the pain. Don't numb it. Don't ignore it. Let it teach you. Let it stretch you. Let it grow you. Then rise from it and use it to change the world. Healing is not a sign that you gave up. It's not proof that you couldn't fight. Healing is the evidence that you chose to rise above the chaos instead of becoming it. The world may try to convince you that being tough means staying bitter, that forgiveness is for the weak, and that scars should be hidden, but that's a lie. Real strength is in the person who decides to feel everything and still refuses to let it poison their soul. It's in the person who says, I won't carry this anger any longer, not because they deserve peace, but because I do. Healing is an act of rebellion in a world that wants you to stay broken. It means you saw the darkness, walked through it, and still chose to reach for the light. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's power. That's a heart that's been through the fire but refuses to live in ashes. There's wisdom in stepping away from what hurt you instead of fighting it forever. Wisdom in saying, I'm not going to let what they did live rent-free in my mind anymore. When you choose healing, you're not denying the pain. You're confronting it. You're sitting with it, learning from it, and then letting it go before it defines you. That's a kind of courage most people will never understand. Because staying angry is easy. Staying bitter, that's the default. But healing is intentional. It's choosing clarity over chaos. It's choosing peace over proving a point. And when you do that, you become dangerous in a different way. You don't react to nonsense. You don't argue with foolishness. You don't waste your time trying to convince people of your worth. You simply rise. And when you rise healed, you rise untouchable. Not because you never felt pain, but because you mastered it and now it no longer controls you. People confuse healing with forgetting, but you don't heal by forgetting, you heal by remembering without reliving. You can recall the lesson without drowning in the moment. That's where the wisdom lies. You start recognizing patterns, you stop entering the same battles, and you stop trying to fix people who broke you. You stop blaming yourself for their wounds and start honoring your own. Healing teaches you boundaries, not barriers. It teaches you presence, not avoidance. And the deeper you heal, the less you chase, the less you beg, the less you tolerate what used to destroy your peace. You grow quieter, not because you have nothing to say, but because you no longer owe explanations to those who never tried to understand you. You begin to protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. The healed version of you isn't loud, it's rooted. It doesn't need to prove itself, it just moves differently. Soft doesn't mean weak. Healed doesn't mean naive. It means you finally chose you. And healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel strong, like you've conquered every storm that tried to drown you. And other days the wind will whisper old memories and you'll feel the ache all over again. That doesn't mean you're not healing, it means you're human. Healing is messy. It's a dance between pain and growth, between grieving and letting go. It requires grace, patience, and the willingness to sit with yourself, even when you're not proud of who you had to become to survive. But what makes it powerful is this: every time you choose to get up, even with trembling hands and a tired heart, you're reclaiming your life. Every time you choose compassion over revenge, you're reminding yourself that your soul is bigger than your scars. You're not weak for needing time. You're wise for taking it. You're not broken for feeling deeply. You're awake, aware, and becoming whole again, piece by piece. Healing doesn't mean you don't miss people. It means you finally understand why you had to let them go. It means you recognize that peace is worth more than history, and self-respect is louder than nostalgia. When you heal, you stop romanticizing dysfunction. You stop labeling trauma as love. You see clearly, maybe for the first time in your life. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to admit that some people were only chapters, not the whole story. It hurts to realize that your loyalty kept you in places your spirit outgrew. But healing whispers, you deserve more. Not because you're perfect, but because you're finally learning to love yourself in a way that no one else ever taught you. And when you start showing up for yourself like that, you stop settling. You stop begging for crumbs. You stop staying where you're only half loved. Because now you know that peace is not just something you dream about, it's something you protect. When you start healing, you realize that not everyone can come with you. And that's one of the hardest lessons to accept. You'll want to reach back. You'll want to explain yourself, clear the air, fix the misunderstandings. But healing will teach you that not every closure comes with a conversation. Sometimes healing is silent. It's internal. It's walking away without the drama, the apology, or the validation. It's understanding that your peace doesn't need to be loud to be real. The healed version of you will be more selective. You'll value your energy, guard your time, and no longer water relationships that keep you thirsty. You'll learn to enjoy your own company, not because you gave up on people, but because you finally become someone you love being around. And that's wisdom. Knowing when to stay, when to leave, and most importantly, when to grow in silence. There is a strength in healing that is rarely talked about. It's not the strength that shows up in lifting heavy burdens. It's the quiet strength of letting go, of releasing control, of choosing peace even when your ego screams for revenge. It's the strength of not reacting, of walking away without burning bridges, not because they didn't deserve the fire, but because you deserved peace. Healing gives you back your power, brings you back to yourself. It reminds you that you are not what they did to you. You are what you decide to do with what they did. That's where the shift happens. You no longer seek justice through bitterness. You find it in your freedom, in your growth, in your glow. You outgrow the narrative that says strength is loud and aggressive. Healing teaches you that true strength is grace under fire, stillness and chaos, and the ability to smile again after all you've survived. Healing is not about fixing who you are. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to shrink. It's about unlearning survival mode and relearning joy, peace, and trust. It's about rebuilding your foundation, not with fear, but with faith. And that takes time, that takes intention. But you're not behind, you're not broken, you're not failing because you're still healing. You're brave because you started. You're wise because you saw the cost of unhealed wounds and decided not to pay it anymore. You're powerful because you said no more. And every single day you choose peace over pain, you rewrite your story. Not for them, for you. Because you deserve a life that feels like freedom, not a battlefield. You deserve to breathe without waiting for the next hit. You deserve to laugh without guilt, to love without fear, and to walk forward, whole, healed, and wise beyond measure. When you truly understand what healing means, you stop looking at it as something passive or weak. You begin to realize that healing is the boldest act of self-respect you can choose. It is not about pretending the pain never happened. It's about refusing to let that pain become your home. It's about choosing to grow, to breathe again, to reclaim every part of you that trauma tried to silence. Healing is not about perfection. It's about progression. Every tear you've shed, every sleepless night you've endured, every time you chose peace over revenge, those were victories. Silent ones, deep ones, but real ones. That's how wisdom works. It doesn't shout. It whispers truth in the middle of your storm. It reminds you that you are not defined by what broke you, but by how you stood back up. And standing up doesn't always look like a battle cry. Sometimes it looks like quiet peace. Sometimes it looks like choosing yourself after years of self-neglect. Healing is what happens when you finally say, I'm worth more than this pain. Every time you choose to walk away with dignity instead of rage, every time you let go of something that was weighing your soul down, every time you stop fighting battles that don't belong to you anymore, you grow. And that growth doesn't need to be posted. It doesn't need to be praised. It just needs to be yours. The healed version of you won't need to prove anything. You'll just know. You'll move with a calm spirit. You'll protect your peace like gold. And not because life got easier, but because you got wiser. You'll stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You'll stop opening your heart to hands that only knew how to harm. That's what healing teaches. It teaches you to build, not beg, to release, not react, to rise, not retaliate. And through it all, you learn that dignity is louder than revenge. Silence is stronger than noise. And inner peace is more valuable than outer approval. So protect your peace, walk away when you need to, and never doubt the strength it takes to heal. Let the world say what it wants. Your growth, your healing, your wisdom will speak for you. Because the healed version of you doesn't chase closure, doesn't beg for apologies, and doesn't lower yourself to match anyone's chaos. The healed version of you moves in truth, walks in clarity, and lives in peace. And if that makes you misunderstood, so be it. You didn't come this far to prove anything. You came this far to be free. Stay grounded, stay graceful, stay focused. You're doing better than you think. Your journey is sacred. Your growth is real, and your healing is holy. Thank you for walking through this truth with me today. May you always choose peace. May you always protect your soul. God bless you. Stay strong, stay wise, and never stop choosing you.